Okay, so we're starting by looking at the schedule of my next posts. I've picked out the Twitter feed because it's the busiest, but you can choose to look at any individual profile to see what you've got lined up there. It is in the pipeline to have a big overview to see everything going everywhere, but of course that'll be a much busier grid. Um, Straight away it shows you where you've got things lined up, where they've got the images and the links, and we've got these ones with exclamation marks, and it's saying we could not find any posts at this time slot. That's not an error, that is a notification to myself. As I described in the written part of the blog post, there's all different categories you can use. In fact, let me go and show you some of these. Go over to content. So we've got all my blog posts, the evergreen ones, which, as I explained, you can reshare as many times as you want. So I've got 25 blog posts currently doing that. Do I want to go back much further? I don't know, because that could be pretty stale by then. It's a case of checking and seeing what I'm sharing, and of course I'll rewrite some of the older posts and then they'll get added in. Blogs from RSS. There's 41 existing specific posts, and as you'll note, it says share once to those ones. So personally, I choose not to keep resharing other people's blog posts. I look for the ones I like, I share it, and then I'm looking for other things, so it's constantly fresh, and I added new bloggers as I go along. Curated posts. There's 9 of those posts at the moment. So that's evergreen. So it's things like maybe an image and a quote that goes with that image, something you've put together that can be reshared several times. Curated news. That goes out once, and as you'll see, I've got 0. So that could be one of the flagged up exclamation marks in my post overview. At this minute, I haven't put together any curated news. The things I have all gone out now. So when I come and review my SocialBee, I know I need to put together some new curated news if I have some. I'm never going to send something out for the sake of it, just to fill slots. I'd rather not have something go at a particular time than that. There's my fibro blog posts. That's specific because I share posts into the Fibro Connect group, and I do that once per week. So I've given that just its own slot, so it's just going to have my fibro blog post going there, whereas in my overall blog posts that includes my other categories as well. Promotional. Promotional can be different things. It can be if you have your own blog, course, not blog, book or course or something else that you sell, you might want to be regularly promoting that. Or it could be if you say do affiliate marketing as a blogger, you might want to regularly be sharing that for a certain amount of times. At the moment, I've had one in there that I've been sharing that's sort of come to an end now. And then there's quotes, questions, fun. That's set to evergreen. Once again, just a light-hearted quote or a question or a fun comment that is timeless, really, that you might want to reshare ever so often. And you can have that in your queue. As you can see, I haven't got any of those at the moment, so that will be one of the other exclamation marks. So how do I find the things I want to send out? There's different ways to do that. There's the RSS feeds I mentioned. There's various bloggers I've got an RSS feed for. Have I got yours? Should I have yours? One way to find out for sure if you're producing an RSS feed for your blog is, if I use mine as example, type the word feed at the end of your blog, and then if I copy this and I go up into a browser tab, paste it in, go to that link. As you'll see, you'll get a page of content a little bit like this. See things you recognise, image tags, um, category from your blog, and there's details about a blog post here. And as you go down, it will mention previous ones. Keep scrolling down, and at the end it's end RSS. So this is the RSS feed from my blog here. So I know if anyone else wants to share it via a feed reader, they can find my content. If you happen to use Feedly, which I'll talk about in another blog post, it's a great way of looking after your feeds there. So in my SocialBee here, you can see I've got some that I follow that have got RSS feeds working, and also I've got them unapproved to begin with, which lets me click on content approval and it'll find what it can, and straight away I can see I've got some blog posts here that I can go through, have a look at them, and we'll take this one first. How virtual reality can help reduce chronic pain. That sounds quite interesting. So I can just click approve to approve it, or I can click edit. And as you see, obviously I can't edit the link to their post at all, but I can add further information into here. I've got a preview straight away to show what it's going to look like. So it's got the explanation from their blog post, and it's got the image, how it will appear. Obviously sometimes if it's an image like a long blog post image, it's cut off in Twitter unless you reformat it to Twitter. However, on Facebook, it looks spot on. I will in another blog post talk about ways to sort images out so that you're sending the right image to each blog post. Personally, I like to use Twitter and my Facebook page for resharing other blog posts. I don't tend to use Instagram because some blog posts maybe don't have perfect images for Instagram. As case in point, sorry if this is your blog post, but it's got, all its writing cropped off, and it wouldn't be great on my Instagram feed, so I wouldn't share it there. Similarly, not every image is perfect for Pinterest, but what I will do is go to Pinterest spasmodically and reshare some other people's. But I do like to use this for these two platforms. So straight away I could click in, add some information I want to add. If I wanted to, I could replace the link with an image. However, I wouldn't want to do that if it's somebody else's blog post, because obviously I'm not in, it's not my content. I'm just sharing something I want to share. Once I've added in what I'd like to write, and I do like to sort of write something so that it's showing that, this is my thoughts about this and what I thought was good about the blog post. Obviously I can click through straight away and go and read the blog post first, which I always do. I wouldn't share something without looking at it. And you'll spot here there's customized for each profile. So if I do that, I can then go in individually. What would I like on Facebook? Obviously I've got more space for writing on Facebook. What I want to add in Twitter, and it tells me how many characters I've got left for Twitter. Obviously I'll be making sure I put hashtags in there. You can also add some variations. As it happens, I just post other people's blog posts once, but if for instance you're adding your own blog post at this time, you might not want to have the same snippet on each one, so you can add several variations for one blog post, maybe pulling out little quotes of it. And then you've got the choice. In this case it's share once because it's other people's. If it's my own, it will be set to repost. and then you can post it at a specific time. Obviously, with my new blog posts, I put them out at 6 p.m. So I would choose to send it at 6 p.m. on the correct date, and then it will either at a specific time and date it will expire if it's a repost, or shared after a certain amount of times. So when it's your own blog post, you've got full control for all those things. Obviously, once you're happy, you'd change that to approved, update it, and then it goes added into your queue. Because obviously I want to read through the blog posts and add my little bit of text. I'm not going to do this one specifically at this minute. I'll do it off camera. But once I've done this, I can go through all these blog posts and have a good old read, see what I think about them, add some comments for you, approve them all, and once they're approved, I've actually got my own coming in without approval either, because this is to share to the Fibro Connect group. So I'll want to pull some information into that because it'll just pull through the title. So even in some cases, my own blog posts, I still need to approve and edit. And that's a great way of getting other content to be sharing regularly. What if I just want to add, say, my new blog post in? Quickest way there is we've got this plus add content. You can say where you want this content to go. So in the case of a new blog post, I'll be choosing all of these platforms. You may notice currently Instagram goes through Buffer and Pinterest goes through Hootsuite, but a basic free Hootsuite and Buffer account will deal with this. That's all you need. You don't need to have to pay on those platforms, and eventually will be done so that you can go direct through SocialBee and not need to go there by those. It's in their plan of action to be done when they're able to get their hands on the API, which, if you're technical, you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, so all times it will pull you up if there's a problem. So if, for instance, I forget to say what I want to post, it's going to say, where am I sending this type of thing. So you can choose the category. So on my blog post, it'll be if I'm putting in my new blog. I'll put a link into my blog post, and it's got built-in shorteners. So obviously, as you know, especially with Twitter, you're limited. So I'll decide what I want to add, and then add my link in, which it'll shorten. I don't add a photo in at this point. If your blog post or somebody else's blog post has already been published, it will find obviously a picture. But if you're anything like me, I like to schedule mine to go out as soon as I've written and scheduled the blog post. So this might be a couple of days before it actually hits live publication. So what I'll do is I would write in, for instance, my latest blog post. Not very exciting, but as an example, I'd put a link to it. What the heck? I've got one here. Yeah, I've still got that. And I should see, put that link to my feed, and it shortened it for me. Obviously, that feed isn't a blog post, so there's no image or anything. And it's saying at least one social profile must be selected, so it's told me to do that. The beauty in this is, though, this here, add variations. Just like before, I could add them in, but now if we select a few, it's going to go there, it's going to go there, we'll send it to there, send it to there, and I'll send it to there. You're getting your ideas here, and then when it comes to it, replacing links with video, I'll just do that. And then once I've clicked, it'll open up my dashboard and I will have a selection. If you look, for instance, haven't filed these away yet. Some of my last ones where I've got an image which is the blog header, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter. You can just see by the last. I create the optimum sized image for each of those blog platforms, and those images get added in, so I'll know it'll look perfect on each of those. You might think it'd take ages. It doesn't actually take me that long to do it all. A little bit longer than just creating one image, but I will show you in another blog post how I create my images for social media to go with my blog. So if I do all of that, and then I would set it to go out, say 6 p.m. on the day that blog post is going out. Sometimes I'll choose to expire it after a certain time, and sometimes I'll actually leave it running if it's very evergreen. You can actually, then it's not showing here because obviously that's not a full blog post I put together, have more than one, what's the word I'm looking for, sorry, fibro fog kicking in, time for it to go specifically. So if I change this from add to the top of the queue, I can do it, for instance, share now and add to the bottom of the queue if it's something that's live, or I could do my specific time, and then once you've done this specific time, and put a time in there. What the heck? Let's just put today at 6 o'clock. That's gone, but hey ho. Add another schedule. So you can actually create an interesting schedule of several publishings in a row. For sites like Twitter, that's really useful, but obviously with Instagram, you wouldn't want to be bombarding your Instagram with the same picture and the same wording. So if you wanted to do several schedules, I would suggest instead of doing your blog posts all together on one platform, you might want to add it to each platform separately with other schedules. But say it looks a little bit complicated here because I've got these errors. You need a Pinterest board for the Pinterest. Instagram requires an image. It gives you the warning, so it stops you doing something stupid, basically, which is really useful. But as you can see, they're even constantly, regularly working on new features like minimum number days before posting again is coming soon, which will be great because sometimes you don't want to be posting something too frequently. When you're new to the platform and you're adding in your evergreen content, for instance, if you've only added in 2 posts, it's going to be alternating those 2 fairly rapidly. So on the first day, you want to put a few on there, but once they've brought out this minimum number of days, you can build it even more slowly, so it's not going to be bombarding the same post every couple of days. So you can add things straight from within your SocialBee platform, or there's actually, if you're using Chrome, a plugin you can get for your browser. So if I, for instance, let's go to the Fibro blogger directory, and if I'm thinking, okay, do I want to share week 239? I can just go to that, and it's going to bring up just the same window that you saw before. I could choose where I want to send it. It's not all my blog posts. It could be curated news if I just want to send it out once, and then I can just be talking about some of the interesting things happened on the blogger directory this week. Choose where I want to send it. As you see, because it's a blog post that's live and real, the information is pulled in straight away. So you can quickly pull anything into it just by using the dashboard, what's the word I'm looking for, the toolbar plugin that the SocialBee team have created. So that's just a little bit of a look around it. In fact, there you go. You see browser extension. That's where you can find it. Just click there if you want it on Chrome, if you want it on Firefox. Safari's coming soon, and Internet Explorer isn't very popular with most tech people. Obviously, the Edge is a newer thing, but they're not doing it for Edge yet. Chrome is by far the most popular browser in the tech community. If you use Pocket, you can just click on Pocket and add Pocket. So if that's how you choose to save things that you want to read or share, you can do it in there. And you can just import a link, import CSV, Zapier integrations if you use Zapier. It says here that it's still a private beta, but you can ask to join it. Personally, I use IFTT, if this then that, rather than Zapier. But yeah, so there's all different ways of bringing things in. And then we've got some analytics. If I go to Twitter, for instance, so it's going to show, so I've got my followers here, 1,200 odd, and it's showing above here, for instance, like that day, my followers changed by 4, I gained 9, I lost 5. Twitter fluctuates. You've got people that follow you one day and unfollow you the next. So, lots of days it's been a hit. A few days it's gone the other way. So, I lost 11 and gained 8 that day. But say the very next, I gained 9 but lost 5. So you can see what's been happening, and you can choose a time period. The longer you use this, the more there. If I select all time, I've been using it for a few weeks now. So see the overall average by audience stats and your top performing posts, so I can see who's liked something, how often it's been retweeted, clicked on it, who's engaged it, how many impressions I've had, and if anyone's followed specifically because something I've sent out. So it's quite useful to see what's been happening with your social media analytics all in one place as well. You know what posts are working the best. And then they've got this audience tab, so you can competitor audience, you can add a Twitter handle of somebody who you see as your competition. Certainly in the Spoonie or chronic illness community, I'd like to think we actually all support each other and we're not in competition. But maybe if you do sell a product or something like that, you might have a competitor. So it's useful to know what's going on with them. Keyword searches for each platform. You can enter something and see what's happening with Twitter. So, for instance, yeah, there we go. Fibromyalgia, and it's going to have a search, and it's going to find out what's going on, who's talking about fibromyalgia. It's a great way to find new people to follow. And then fans, what's it going to show me there? I haven't actually looked at some of these yet. So these are people who follow you unconditionally, no strings attached. So if people have been following you and they haven't followed and then unfollowed, it's going to show them in there. And then we've got friends. What does it tell us about friends? Great people who not only follow but they also follow you back. Make sure you still want them as friends. So you're following them, they're following you back. It'll let you know how recently you've sort of had any contact with these people. Yeah. Non-followers, people who you follow but they don't follow you back. So obviously, some of these are, like a craft company. I wouldn't necessarily expect them to follow me, and or massive high-level bloggers or celebrities. I can see that, I wouldn't expect them to follow me, but I can look down there and see if there's anybody. Hang on a minute, this person I follow and they don't follow me back. Might I want to stop following them at this point? Um, it's okay. Occasionally, it's a useful thing to unfollow people that aren't engaging with you at all if they're what I'd call, your level or a lower level blogger or something like that. If you're following them to support them, but they chose not to follow you, or they don't put anything interesting out, you've got a quick way of deciding who to unfollow. And then you've got a whitelist. So whitelist will be, for instance, a Twitter account that you never want to unfollow, even if they don't follow you back. Obviously, in cases like this, this account does follow me back, but you can whitelist anyone who you want to stay following, and then you can blacklist. I don't have any blacklists, but yeah, if you never want to see in either the competitor's audience or the keyword search. So, if there's anybody who's very inappropriate or something, you can blacklist them so you're not going to see theirs. And then profile check. Check a social profile to see how you relate to it and manage the relationship. So, what you've got in common, and so on. So you've got all of this about audience, which is really useful tool. You've got some analytics built in. Latest changes, they keep you all to date. If they fixed anything updated on the roadmap, new tools. It's a relatively new company in the scheme of things, and the beauty of newer companies is that they're really are keen to look after their users. Having had accounts with some very long-term companies and having had accounts with some smaller, newer companies, I've usually had the better experience with newer, smaller companies, and that certainly does seem to be the case with SocialBee. So that gives you a bit of an overview. We've looked at the audience, we've looked at the analytics, posting, content types, dashboard. So I can see here straight away that things are running and what I've got approved to go out. So I know I've got some degree of constant going out in all these, even though all slots are not. Watch overview on YouTube straight away. You've got links to these things. And if you actually have the larger account for more than one workspace, like I've got the two different blogs, you can just switch to an entirely different workspace, which I found is better if you've got more than one blog to manage them. So that is a quick little overview of SocialBee. I hope you found it useful.